Time Walk with me.
Hey everybody, welcome to Time Walk with me. I am the Time Walker, and I am weird in a good way. Quite a while ago, I posted a few blue, red, green commanders and put it to a vote which one I would build. When I made the decision, the winner ended up being Rashmi and Ragavan, but once I started building the deck, it became a tie between that and Xyris the Writhing Storm. I resolved to build Xyris one day, and I recently asked for suggestions in my community tab and got some good feedback. Special shout out to Michael Alexandro, Alexandra Tetralt, and Rekaman for helping shape this deck into what it is. Xyris the Writhing Storm. Xyris is a 3/5 legendary snake leviathan with flying. She costs 2 generic, 1 green, 1 blue, and 1 red mana to cast. 5 mana is kind of a lot, but one of the colors is green, so it opens up the best ramp spells without resorting to mana rocks, though I still included a few of those too. Xyris has 2 abilities other than flying that make for a very interesting deck. Whenever an opponent draws a card other than the first one they draw during their draw step, you make a 1/1 green snake creature token. Drawing being an important thing to do in Commander, you can count on your opponents to provide you with a mighty snake army. But just in case they don't, you can make them pay for their insolence by dealing combat damage to them. That forces them and you to draw that many cards. That'll trigger Xyris' snake generating ability and also give you that many cards in your hand. All draw. Just in case people aren't drawing enough, even with Xyris laying the smacketh down, these cards make everyone draw whether they want to or not. I decided against filling this section with wheels because I wanted to take it a bit slower. But if you're building this commander and you want to be the archenemy, you go for it. Howling Mine. This is good to get out even before you cast Xyris. It might get you some goodwill from the other players, and it'll provide you with some extra resources. Teferi's Puzzle Box. This might bug some people, but I couldn't not include it. It's one of my favorite cards. Every player draws a new hand every turn, which ruins their plans and gives you a lot of snakes. Otherworld Atlas. This is the perfect card for this deck. Even with just 2 charge counters, tapping this will give you 2 cards and 6 snakes, assuming you have 3 opponents. Temple Bell. This is a bit like Howling Mine, except you benefit from it at the same time as everyone else. Pendant of Prosperity. Make a friend at the table while you make snakes, draw cards, and play extra lands. Curse of Verbosity. It's such a snake move to encourage fighting among your opponents and take advantage of it to make more snakes. Academy Lore Master. When I got this in a pack, I didn't know if it would ever go into a deck, but I think it goes well in this one. Anyone who wants to draw an extra card in exchange for paying extra for any spells they cast that turn can do that, and if they do, you get snakes. You benefit even if you never opt to take the extra card. Folio of Fancies. At the end of the turn of the player who goes before you, pump all your remaining mana into this to get some cards and make some snakes. Fascination. Everyone draws X cards and you make 3X snakes. Wheel of Potential. This isn't an energy deck, so this spell just gives everybody the option to discard their hand and draw 3 cards. If all your opponents do, you get 9 snakes. If none of them do, just make sure you cast this when you don't have many cards in your hand so you can draw 3 cards for 3 mana. Kami of the Crescent Moon. This is a Howling Mine on a 1/3 stick. And Forced Fruition. This could bother people a little, but even if it's quickly dealt with, as long as it's not countered, you'll get 7 snakes for a 6 mana investment. It's not enough to just get 3 snakes per attack. Xyris has to be bigger. Critical Hit. Master Chef. This makes your snakes come out as 2/2 instead of 1/1. Balmor, Battle Mage Captain. Possibly named after my favorite city in Morrowind, this makes all your snakes stronger and gives them trample whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell. Zamek Guildmage. This also makes your snakes come out as 2/2 instead of 1/1. Gimli's Fury. Since Xyris is legendary, this will give it trample as well as +3/+2. Inventor's Axe. This is a cool combat trick that gives Xyris a permanent +2/+0 boost. You even get 2 energy counters to draw more cards from Wheel of Potential. And Railway Brawler. Like Zamek Guildmage, this makes your snakes come out slightly bigger. Targnar, Demon Fang Knoll. This is a good go-wide strategy. If you're attacking with enough creatures, Targnar gives them all +1/+0 until end of turn. Gut, True Soul Zealot. This guy lets you exchange your snakes for menacing 4/1 skeletons. And Raid Bombardment. This is another go-wide card, dealing direct damage to the player you're attacking for every small creature you're attacking with. These cards are here to protect Xyris from anyone who would do her harm. Many of them also pump up Xyris' power and toughness. Gaia's Gift. This gives a creature a whole lot of goodies, including hexproof and indestructible. It only costs 2 mana and it's an instant, so you can cast it in response to an attempt on Xyris' life. Anara, Wolved Familiar. During your turn, Xyris will be indestructible, which is great for when you feel like attacking but are worried about a blocker that would otherwise take Xyris down with her. Woodcutter's Grit. This gives Xyris hexproof and +3/+3 until end of turn. Inspiring Call. This makes all your creatures that have +1/+1 counters on them indestructible until end of turn. Good thing there are many ways of doing that in this deck. Ranger's Guile. Hexproof and +1/+1 until end of turn for just 1 mana. Airtight Alibi. This is an enchantment, but it has flash, so you can cast it in response to someone trying to do something bad to Xyris. It gives her +2/+2 permanently and hexproof the turn you cast it. It also can't be suspected, but who cares about that? Tamio's Safekeeping. I'm starting to think that this belongs in every green deck. It gives any permanent you control hexproof and indestructible until end of turn, and it gives you 2 life. Lightning Greaves. I just happened to have one of these lying around from a deck I took apart, so I threw it in here. Snakeskin Veil. Xyris should already have Snakeskin, but this gives her another layer. For 1 mana, she gets a +1/+1 counter and hexproof until end of turn. Royal Treatment. This is even better than Snakeskin Veil. It gives hexproof until end of turn, and a Royal Roll, which gives +1/+1 and Ward 1. And Savage Silhouette. This allows you to regenerate Xyris, which is a cool blast from the past. It's funny how many times they've tried to fix this ability with things like indestructible and shield counters, but I like the old school abilities in all their imperfection. Soul Ring. Explore. Guild Artisan. Decanter of Endless Water. Search for Tomorrow. Sanctum of Fruitful Harvest. Map the Wastes. They went this way. Fertilid's Favor. This one is good in this deck because it puts +1/+1 counters on a creature. You could even give the land to another player if you want to make a deal with them. Dance of the Tumbleweeds. Map the Frontier. Eureka Moment. And Zimone Quandrix Prodigy. Street Urchin. With this, you can fling your snakes at people's faces or at other targets. Halsin, Emerald Archdruid. This guy can turn your snakes into bears. Well, bear snakes. Flood of Recollection. This deck is full of instants and sorceries that you might want to bring back. Twinferno. This either copies an instant or sorcery, or gives a creature double strike, both very good things in this deck. Once in Future. This can potentially bring any 2 cards back from your graveyard to your hand. Dual Strike. Copy a cheap instant or sorcery for 2 mana, or foretell it and do it later for 1. Goblin Slide. While you're making a ton of snakes, you might as well add some goblins to the mix. Fire of Orthanc. There's not a ton of interaction in this deck, but what is here is pretty mean. Gimli, Mournful Avenger. This guy gets mad when too many snakes die. Season of Growth. This deck is all about protecting and augmenting my creatures, so this should keep my hand nice and full. Nadu, Winged Wisdom. I know everybody hates this card, but I had to get one. At least it's not the commander. Unless it's requested by a whole lot of people, I pledge not to make a Nadu deck like all the conformists. Terror of the Peaks. This guy is hard to target and he pings something every time a snake is made. Make your own luck. This pretty much sums up my beliefs regarding luck. It's a state of mind, not a force out in the universe. Balaged Recovery / Balaged Sanctuary. If you need a land, play it as a land. If you need some recursion, play it that way. Social Climber. A little life gain isn't a bad thing, and with the amount of snakes you'll be making, this creature might end up giving you a lot of life. Molten Birth. I really like this card. I've recast it more than 4 times in games. You see, the secret is to flip the coin first and then call whatever it lands on. Spellkeeper Weird. More instant and sorcery recursion. And Impact Tremors. This is an absolute win condition in this deck. The more everybody draws, the more damage they take. We got Islands, Mountains, and Forests, of course. Frontier Bivouac. Gyre Reach Sanitarium. This is great in this deck. Everybody draws a card, you get 3 snakes, and then everybody discards so that nobody ends up ahead in card advantage. Captivating Cave and Cave of Temptation. These both do the exact same thing, but one of them has the Cave subtype. Not that it matters in this deck. What does matter is the +1/+1 counters you can put on Xyris. Bountiful Landscape. And Animal Sanctuary. This puts counters on snakes. Xyris is a snake, and so are the snake tokens she makes. And that's it. Tell me what you think of my Xyris the Writhing Storm deck, and I will tell you what I think of your face, or something. See you next time.